Hey folks, so we're going to work on some more martial powers today. We're going to build a Gruul Barbarian Path of the Wild Magic using red and green magic in the martial power system that we've been building here on stream for the past year. So give me a second here to check my signal, make sure I'm coming through strong, and then we will get to work here for probably an hour or so, depending on how long it takes to build the thing. So checking my signal here real quick. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Here real quick. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Sounds good. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, good. All right, I'm going to post on, let's see, here on Twitter. Get this thing going. Update my stuff here. Get my stuff going on Reddit. I'm going to take a few moments here to update that I'm live and stuff. So we're going to have a little bit of hang time here. Let's see. Developing. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick intro here and then we'll get to work. So my name is Phil Kearney. Hey, guys. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. I've been focusing on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. A lot of my work has been rotating around creating color mana system using the Magic the Gathering 5-color magic paradigm to be able to create different type of casting mechanics for spellcasters in Dungeons & Dragons. And we have those works here in the spell point mana bundle that we have here. Which has a link down below. You can check all that stuff out. There's free previews for everything, so you can read through how the content works. If you think it's cool, consider picking it up to support more shenanigans like that in the future. But I'm just most interested in just having folks support the stuff and just be involved, throw the mana around, see how it works for you. Let me get this out of the way here, and we go boop, there like that. We're on episode 113 today, so if this stuff is interesting to you, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications in the future when we are live. Now, we have a Discord community up and running here that has where people can sign up for the playtesting that we're going to begin probably at the end of February. Let's see. If you're interested in seeing more about the Martial Powers playtest content, you can jump over here. You don't have to be a subscriber to have access to this information on my Patreon. If you click this YouTube stream here, but otherwise, if you click Martial Powers, it's a read-only document. It'll be published on the DMsGuild like all the other stuff down below. So it's not here for you to edit and take away. If you do request editing access so you can copy it, that's going to assume that you're interested in getting updates. So when you get an email saying, hey, thanks for being interested in this project, if you're not interested, you can unsubscribe. But obviously, if you are requesting editing rights so you can copy the content, you're obviously interested. So play nice and be fair. So let's see. We are going to pluck this out. So the document that we're looking at here, this is the same document that I've been using to do all the edits and stuff here on screen with you guys. This is far from a final draft. This is all just rough content for now. Once we hire an editor and do a cleanup, we'll do the same page format layout process that we're doing for the Eberron Adventure and the Spelljammer supplement that we've been streaming here for the past year. We'll be doing that same treatment with this book here of making sure all the layouts are sitting good, and then building all the frame for it, and then opening up spaces to do illustrations, and then we'll be doing all the illustrations here on stream later on this year, once we are done with the editing and playtesting process, probably in the second half of 2024. So this is going to continue to develop. Tomorrow on my morning workbench coffee stream, we're going to continue working on building the playtest for the Rumble Belt West March platoon campaign that I've been working on for the past few weeks on Saturdays. We're going to continue that effort. But today, as I said, we're going to build a Gruul Barbarian. So this is the page 92 of this document that you guys can kick into and check out yourselves as well. So let's take this bump over here and stream down here into our power progression table. We're using the Barbarian. So looking at the Barbarian here, we gain our mana resource at first level, our power die. We know 2 powers plus the things that we're going to get from the Ravnica, the Ravnica Gruul background. We'll add in here real quick, and then we'll go through the power system. We're going to work with Wild Mage, so we'll build out all these things, and then we'll have a character. So we've already decided that we're going to go with a Bugbear. They've got some reach, and they're greenish, so that fits well with the Gruul clan, as opposed to like they're like goblinoids. So like orcs, goblins, bugbears, and hobgoblins. Those are all goblin kin that can have a space and exist inside of the Ravnica game space here. Our stat line 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6 is a pretty standard array that I use at my home tables. It gives you a lot of diversity with both strengths and weaknesses. This is pre-racial modifications or any kind of feats that you would want to spend to up your character stat lines. So we're not worrying about that right now. We're just going with core fundamentals of a Barbarian, of the Gruul background, the Barbarian class, and then the subclass for the Path of the Wild Mage, Wild Magic, and then all the selection, all the prepared powers that we can add into the Barbarian's kit to build our Gruul character. So let's see, what is some of the fun stuff that we get from? Let's first go with Gruul Clan. So starting off with Gruul Clan, we get proficiencies of animal handling and athletics. So let's add those in. Choose one, Draconic, Giant, Goblin. Well, we're going to know Goblin already because we're starting off as a Hobgoblin. We'll go with Common as our base language. Hey, RP, how you doing? We'll take Goblin because we are playing, this is a Bugbear Barbarian, so we're just going to give him Goblinoid as a default language for the Greenskins throughout the campaign. Let's see, so you have those two. Oh, yeah, and then the clan, so we'll give them Giant. Those are our third languages. Let's see. Oh, and Herbalism Toolkit. So we'll add the Herbalism Kit. Robo Belt Refuge. Awesome. So hold on real quick here. Let's go down to background is... Oh, no, that's the next one. This is going to be Is That. We're going to do Is That on Monday. And Is That... a Goblin Is That Artificer is what we'll do on Monday. For now, class, clan, there, artifice, proficiencies, toolkit, martial power, prepared. Where is my subclass background feature? Rubble Belt, Refuge. So we're going to build out a Path of Wild Magic here for the Barbarian. So we have that kitted out already. Let's see where we go with it. Well, obviously, we're building third level characters because that's we're starting at third level for the playtest. So that's where we'll go. So you're infinitely familiar with areas in the city that most people shun. Ruined neighborhoods where worms rampaged, overgrown parks that no hand has tended in decades, and the vast, sprawling rubble belts of broken terrain that civilized folks have long abandoned. You can find a suitable place for you and your allies to hide or rest in these areas. In addition, you can find food and fresh water in these areas for yourself and up to 5 other people each day. So that's really useful. We don't start off with access to in the playtest, we won't have immediate access to Gruul. That's something that you have to earn. The campaign is set up that you're part of an envoy that's moving from one urban region to another across hundreds of miles of rubble belt ruins that have gone into fallow for hundreds of years and are overgrown, have their own Gruul nations and ungilded communities that are thriving and growing out of these areas with their own monsters, stray magic, and other just random hex crawl type stuff that you can run across. The storyline is that your team aboard an ornithopter crashes, either shot down or hit by a storm or just stray magic. It drops your ship. You're now stranded there. There's no one knows that you're there. You're going to show up missing at some point tomorrow or the next day, but they don't know where you're at. So your job is to march west, the direction that you came from, figuring you know that's where you go. So if we just go long enough, we'll eventually get back to civilization. But there are literally hundreds of miles that you have to cross to get there. If you can find some way to reach out to civilization while you're here in Rebel Belts by finding technology, artifacts, or enchantments that will allow your characters to be able to reach out, then that can be a win condition for your team. But in the meantime, there's non-combatant NPCs that you have to basically have like an escort mission as part of your caravan that's going across the Rebel Belt wastelands. Your characters are playing scouts that are moving ahead to find and eliminate threats that will destroy the non-com NPCs as part of your envoy. So there's scouts, which are the players. There's non-combatants, which is the protective shell that you have to build, which is the reason for the campaign, the reason why you're marching through. It's the goal and the theme of the campaign. And then that space in between are guards. So there's convoy guards that when your scouts get killed, the convoy guards get promoted to player characters. So you have a rotating roster of characters that can continuously feed into the playtest team that shows up. Whether you showed up last week or not, or your character got killed last week or not, we have fallback conditions where you can always populate and sprout new characters into the environment that the team will automatically trust and that have a narrative reason for being there. And we're keeping the amount of NPCs in the convoy ambiguous, so that you don't have to worry about like how many NPCs do we have left? When will the campaign cash out? That's not what it's about. It's about creating a vague background sort of tension inside of the campaign that gives a reason for your characters to push forward and explore space ahead of them, and to choose paths where you want to have your group follow through with, for you to secure as a camp area that you have to defend against random encounters, and when there's daylight for you to be able to move forward and secure a new path for you to move the convoy forward, take a rest, secure your area, move forward. So it's a hex crawl progression with a large amount of NPCs that you're basically doing an escort mission with. So you're trying to stay ahead of the convoy so that you can continuously build a safe path for the escort mission to move through. And we have on Saturday, when we are developing this, we're walking through the mechanics of how this would work as a progressional system that any DM would be able to pick up this toolkit and use to build their own Rebel Belt West March convoy campaign. So I'm still working on the language for how that's supposed to be worded. But so we're building sample characters that can act as a stack of backup characters that during the playtesting, if your character gets killed, you can just grab a scrap character. It's like, great, I'll just play a Dimir Poisoner for now. And then there you go, you'll play a Dimir Poisoner or whatever. Well, it was a Golgari Poisoner that we built. It was a Dimir Soulblade Vanishing Assassin is what we did with the Dimir. Azorius was a Battlemaster. Boros was a Paladin. And then Dimir, the Soul Knife Assassin. Golgari was the Thrycreen Poisoner build for Ranger. It was a Ranger Poisoner build using Swarmkeeper as your conclave. And now we're building Gruul. So we're just going alphabetically down the 10 guilds. And once all the 10 guilds are done, then we'll be able to focus more time. We'll have all the presets for all the default characters built. And then we'll start going in and fleshing out the hazards and the enchantments and the creatures that will be part of the RNG generation for each hex that the team moves into. Even though we're actually using squares. Same difference. So that's what we're doing, and that's why we're doing it. So using the power system here that we have been developing for the past year, we're going to flesh out the Gruul here. So we have our background, we have our skills for the background. Let's go into Barbarian and start fleshing out the class features for the Barbarian. So let's grab that. And let's grab this. And saves are going to be strength and concentration. Constitution. Choose 2. Animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, survival. Let's go with... let's take nature and survival. Those are just good things to have. Okay, so now let's go into the Barbarian and look at the stuff that we're going to get as a Barbarian, like the base chassis of Barbarian. So we get Rage. 2 per long rest. +2 bonus. I'm going to get unarmed defense. Yo, yo, what's up, my guy? There. Oh, no. Then we'll have reckless attack. No. Danger Sense, and Primal Path. Wild Magic. So we'll look up each of these things, and then we'll dive into the powers themselves. We need to do the updates for the power modifications for how the Barbarian plays with them. We'll talk about that a little bit too. So, let's see. Advantage on Strength. Checks and saves. When you make a melee weapon attack with strength, you can gain a bonus to the damage roll that increases as you gain Barbarian level. +2 bonus strength damage rolls. And let's do it like this. BPS, right? Thank you, Timely Timer. Keep it going. All right, so there's all that. And then, what's going on? Not too much. Just woke up from a food. Right on. Well, you know how to get to it, right? Anyone that wants to play along, again, we have access to the document by clicking into the Martial Powers playtest content. That then takes you to my Patreon, which you don't have to be a member of to access. And then you just click on the Martial Power system. And it takes you to right here, right now, where we are. So anyone else that wants to play along, you are most welcome to do so. Unarmed, but right now, again, we're just trying to get through the actual class features. So we have everything on page. While you are not wearing any armor, your armor class equals 10 plus your dex plus your con plus, and you can use shields and still gain this benefit. There, fuck off. Let's see, reckless attack. Starting at second level, you can throw aside any concern for defense or attack. The shield, when you make your first attack in your turn, You can decide to attack recklessly. Doing so gives you advantage on melee weapon attack rolls using strength during this turn, but also attack rolls against you have advantage until your next turn. Gain advantage equals gain advantage on attacks, and others have ADV against you too until start of next turn. Danger sense equals uncanny sense of things. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects that you can see, such as traps and spells. To gain this benefit, you can't be blinded, deafened, or incapacitated. If not blind, deaf, incapacitated, there. So far, so good. So what? Let's go to, let's see. Here's going to be our interest list. Here we're looking at Gruul. Let's go to, first, let's go to the optional barbarian class features. So starting at first level, here's our progression table, right? So all martial classes, this is going to include the barbarian, the fighter, the monk, the paladin, the ranger, specifically. Class levels, you start with power at first level. We'll use a D6. We talked about the power die a lot in the past. It's the modifier that you roll for doing different stuff. You start knowing 2 powers beyond anything else that you're able to prepare and know as well. This should actually be read as, because we've modified it, it's prep powers. Hybrid, martial. So you start off with 1 mana that you can regain on a short rest, and we have ways to cheat additional mana into our system. But we're going to start with 3rd level characters, so we're still only 1st rank power. We're still using a D6. We'll have a total of 4 powers that we can prep, and we'll have 3 mana that we gain on a short rest, and again, having abundant ways of being able to cheat in additional mana. So, looking at our channeling features specifically. Channeling features, first level, we can use strength, dexterity, or charisma as our channeling ability score, which we choose when we select our archetype. Actually, I should change that to, because we modified this already, this is no longer relevant, because we're still updating the document. Your choice. Channeling DC is 8 plus proficiency modifier plus your ability modifier, and you gain a pool of mana as above. So our mana pool is going to be 3. We're using green, we're using red and green mana. Sustained powers can use either red or green mana, and so there's 5 disciplines of power, right? And there's exploits. There's maneuvers. Exploits modify die rolls, movement, and other action economy. Maneuvers can be channeled as a action or a bonus action. You can do both in the same turn, and they can be the same power twice if it's relevant. Those are the most spell-like effects. You could also reskin it easily as psionics if you wanted to. Reactions are either just reactions like you expect, or the subcategory of opportunity attacks, which are combat-focused reactions. So like re-rolling a saving throw would be a reaction, while like interpose would be an opportunity attack. As a reaction, when an adjacent ally takes damage from a source you can see, you can take any portion of that damage and gain resistance to it. So you'd be able to use interpose as an opportunity attack instead of just a standard reaction. That's relevant because sometimes you can get multiple opportunity attacks per round. There's options that allow you to sacrifice attacks during your turn to get extra opportunity attacks, but you still only get 1 reaction, which would eat one of your opportunity attacks. See how that works? So spelling out what an opportunity attack is among the reactions allows you to have more combat interrupt opportunities, but reactions that modify die rolls and have other sorts of like spellcasting and stuff like that is still just a reaction. So that is relevant. So reactions, and then there's strikes, which are modified smite spells that are universally available to martial characters. And then there's sustained powers, which are concentration effects or otherwise are things that can be sustained across multiple rounds. And although And I've talked about this a lot in the past. You could choose to leave your channels open by maintaining concentration and potentially losing concentration, or you can lock powers so that you no longer have to maintain concentration on them at all, but they reduce your effective like max casting levels. So like if you would normally be at 9th level, you could channel 3rd rank powers, but if you lock 2 of your channels to no longer have to concentrate on a second rank effect, then you effectively drop yourself down to only then being able to channel 1st rank or cantrip style powers, because you cut off 2 of your ranks of power. You've locked those channels, leaving only 1 channel open means you can only tap 1 mana or use mana 1 at a time. If you lock all 3 channels, you can still use effects that don't require any mana at all, and there's multiple ways inside of the system for you to drop a cost of something from having a mana cost down to 0 cost by giving up action economy or having some other class feature that allows you to manipulate that. So sustained powers are super fun. We'll look at that here in a second, but those are the 5 disciplines of power. So when we're building a character, you get, every time you gain a level, you get to choose which 2 sustained powers can be channeled with both color mana, but you could choose of the 4 that remain, 2 of them to be red and 2 of them to be green, and then you decide how much mana you want of each color to be able to fuel them. If you have ways of, like, say, making strikes cost 0 mana, and then you have ways of making exploits cost 0 mana, you could put all of your mana into red for maneuvers and reactions, and since strikes and maneuvers cost 0 mana, you could put those in green and put 0 mana into green. So you would effectively be using green powers, but you're not spending any mana to do it. So you can manipulate your mana pool to work with the disciplines and powers that you know to optimize your pool. If you don't care about any of that crap and you don't want to worry about mana optimization and points, you could just buy a ton of feats and just be a mana-less character that just gets a crap load of feats every time you gain levels. There you go. Or like damage types or other like combat masteries. There's lots of stuff that you can take that don't require mana at all or manipulating mana. But if you want to dive into the optimization system, there's a ton of cool action loops and optimizations that you can create for your characters. Hopefully we'll find some today as well. But the previous, like the Dimir Vanishing Assassin, super. The Boros Paladin is really fun. The Golgari Poisoner, I think, is super fun, and I'm looking forward to building the Azet Artificer on Monday, but we'll stay here for now. We already know that we're going to use a D6 for our power die because we're 3rd level, so we have that good. We have 4 powers, prep, 4 powers, good. Let's see, what else do you get? You get your mana, so we already have our 3 mana, and you get to, every time you take a short rest, you get to choose how much mana is devoted to either color. Channeling Rage. Okay, so modifications. So Channeling Rage. When using martial powers, Rage gains additional benefits. While raging, you cannot maintain concentration. If you channel a sustained power while raging, it automatically locks. And locked powers don't reduce the max rank you can channel gained as a barbarian until your rage ends. So you can lock and no longer have to maintain concentration on your powers, and you can still cast through, you can still basically use all your mana through them. That and the monk and the barbarian, that's like the super features, like those are the super benefits that those classes gain. So you can basically empower yourself with sustained powers, and it doesn't reduce your rank at all while you rage. When your rage ends, those locks, the locked mana cuts off access to your mana because you're no longer raging. The rage allows you to step over the locked channels, so you can ignore them. Basically, while you're raging, you don't have to worry about concentration. There you go. You can choose to tap or lock sustained powers as normal when you're not raging. And then at 14th level, when you choose to rage, you can automatically trigger a sustained power to lock. So you basically get a free casting of one of your sustained powers as part of the rage process at 14th level. So channeling Rage. Auto lock, sustained powers. Don't reduce max channel limit. Of course, all this stuff is explained in text inside the document. I'm just trying to... I've talked about over and over and over and over again over the past 100 episodes. So hopefully if you're a recurring visitor, you already know what the hell we're talking about. If not, open up the document and just read it, because the text is good enough to explain what's going on. It's not perfect language yet. We still need to edit it, but it's coming along nicely. While rage... I need to check this real quick. Yes. Awesome. Let's see. Channeling feature. Okay, great. And empowered maneuvers. Like all the other classes, empowered maneuvers. During combat, when you take the attack action, you can forgo any number of attacks to reduce the cost of channeling a maneuver. As a bonus action, by 1 mana for each attack sacrificed this way to a minimum of 0. For example, a 5th level barbarian takes the attack action. You can choose to forego both attacks, reducing the cost of a maneuver you channel as a bonus action by 2 mana to 0. So that's how you can manipulate mana. At 3rd level, we only have 1 attack action. We only have 1 attack during the attack action, so we could sacrifice that attack and take any powers, any maneuvers that we know and reduce the cost to 0. So your character basically, if you're willing to give up an attack during your round, it costs action economy, but your mana pool basically becomes unlimited for first rank maneuvers if you're willing to forego your attack to use that. And there's a lot of different maneuvers in the system that would make sense depending on what's going on in the round for you to do that. Like if I don't have anyone specifically that I'm attacking right now, I may as well drop my action economy to nothing so I can give somebody else something relevant to do, and it won't cost me anything to do it. So, empowered maneuvers, 1 attack plus bonus action equals 1 free mana to channel first a maneuver. So we're going to want to include maneuvers in here so that we can take advantage of that. At low levels, you want lots of maneuvers so you can have lots of free mana usage. Once you get to 5th level and higher, you want to add on strikes because you can make strikes free as well. So both maneuvers and strikes can become free. Reactions almost always cost mana. Exploits almost always cost mana. Sustained powers almost always cost mana. There are some exceptions, but strikes and maneuvers are the aggressive, proactive things that you would be doing. So making those a 0 cost allows you to continue to do action economy each round. Buffing yourself, preventing things from happening to you, and manipulating your dice almost always costs mana because you're manipulating the die rolls and creating passive ongoing effects for yourself or otherwise cheating the system. So there's that philosophy difference we have going on inside there. Let's see. Oh yeah, and optional primal stamina. When you finish a long rest, you regain all barbarian hit dice instead of just half of them. And while not raging, as a bonus action, you can spend, and while not raging, as a bonus action, you can spend any number of hit dice up to your max rank of power gained as a barbarian to regain an equal number of mana instead of gaining hit points. So that's super useful. Primal stamina. What is that? Also 1st level. While not raging, you can spend 1 hit die to regain 1 mana instead of hit points. So you get, on a short rest at 20th level, you get up to 20 mana. You could spend all 20 of your hit dice over the course of a day to get an additional, you get back additional mana as well. So at 20th level, I could blow all my mana and then spend all my hit dice to get 20 more mana back. And then I take a short rest and get all my mana back anyway. And then I take a long rest and get all my mana back. So I can, if I have the cadence of short rest, long rest, burn all my hit dice, I could have up to 80 mana spent per day. I start off with 20, I take a short rest, I get another 20 mana, I spend that, take another short rest, get another mana back, and I can spend all my hit dice during the course of a day. I could have up to 80 mana spent per day. 80 mana is the amount of, is the spell pool of a wizard, cleric, a full caster. So this is basically allowing a barbarian to have full caster resources over the course of 20 levels to spend on half casting progression to be able to do aggressive, hit you, screw you, get out of trouble, maneuvers, actions, blah, 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 blah. Anyway. Hey, Kos. What's up, man? Yeah, so lots of power, lots of mana being thrown around. I think some of the playtesting that we're going to do here is to just make sure that it feels good. It should feel pretty good, but it shouldn't be outbalanced either because the power curve on these things are pretty low. So it's just basically giving you a crap load of resources to be able to do low-level effects over and over again, kind of like battle maneuvers, but with like a shitload of them. I don't think anyone thinks that there's a reason why you should be limited to only like 2 or 3 maneuvers per short rest when they do so little, compared to what spellcasters can do. That's kind of what the philosophy behind this whole system is about. Let's see. What else we got? Empowering Rest. As a bonus action, you can spend Barbarian hit dice to recover mana equal to your hit dice spent up to your max. Wait a second. Isn't that... Did I duplicate that? To regain an equal number of mana instead of regaining hit dice. Okay, yeah. That is redundant. So I can get rid of that. Empowered Rage. Starting at 2nd level, you can spend 2 mana to... Oh yeah, Empowered Rage. Useful. There you go. So spend 2 mana, regain a use of rage. That is a pretty common occurrence, like with like rangers regaining use of like summoning their Drake, for instance, or like doing a Drake breath weapon, or an artificer regaining an arcane cannon. Or another use of their potion kit if you're playing an alchemist. There's various examples of spend a spell slot, regain use of an ability. That universally translates in the system to spend 2 mana, regain a use of that thing. So that can, now that barbarians have a resource pool that's the same as the ranger and the paladin and the artificer, we can use their limited resource option, which is rage. And anytime they run out of rages, you can just throw down 2 mana and then regain a use of rage to then be able to rage again. So that way you don't have to worry about being limited on rages if you're willing to exchange a resource pool for it, right? So there's that. That should technically be a 3rd level feature though, because that's when these things generally click in. And then we won't get empowered attacks until 5th level, but that's like when you take the attack action, if you hit with your first attack, you can sacrifice your 2nd attack to get a free point of mana to then spend as a strike. So you can do 1st level strikes for free. As long as you're always hitting with your first attack, you can give up your 2nd attack, and like fighters get extra attacks, and like we have the power frenzy, we have frenzied attacks that you can get at 13th level that allow you, kind of like a samurai, to gain an extra attack that you could then sacrifice for an extra point of power. So you can instead of rolling an extra attack and maybe hit, maybe not, you can just say, I'm just going to skip the attack and just give me more damage and let me do an effect for free. So there's that balancing, that action economy balancing. Ironically, everything in this game is designed, this system is designed to reduce the amount of action economy that you use so that you can speed up your round and get more impact for the less things that you do. Or if you want to diversify what you're doing, keep it all and spend it out of pocket from your mana pool if you want to do cool stuff. Yeah, it's super. It all just kind of curves into each other. Let's see. Glad you like it. Thanks. Let's see. So that's all the class features. So let's go down into subclass features. Path of Wild Magic. We rebuilt it, of course. All right, here we go. Features, Magic Awareness. The magical energy is rolling inside you. Sometimes, no, that's the wrong one. Magic awareness, no changes. Okay, so let's look up what magic awareness does since it says no changes. No changes means, as an action, you can open your awareness to the presence of concentrated magic. Until the end of your next turn, you know the location of any spells or magic items within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover. When you sense a spell, you learn which school of magic it belongs to. You can use this feature a number of times, equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, as an action, you can open up your awareness, 60 feet, and if it's a spell, you learn which school of magic it belongs to. So the way that we change that is it stays the same though if we're using the color magic paradigm or the elemental magic paradigm. Instead of knowing which school of magic an effect or item is devoted to, you know which colors or elements the effect is devoted to instead. Equals magic effects within 60 feet without full cover. You can detect and discern which color magic it is devoted to, period. And Wild Surge. This one will be a little bit longer. Wild Surge. I rebuilt the random Wild Surge table. I think you guys are gonna like this bootleg. You'll recognize this stuff from this morning. So here's how this works. The magical energy rolling inside of you sometimes erupts from you. When you enter your rage, roll a power die and compare the results to the list on the wild magic table to determine the magical effect produced. If the effect requires a saving throw, use your channeling DC. So here's your wild magic table. Now, if we go look at the wild surge, here's your static D8 table. When something happens, roll a D8, and this is how it normally works. And there's all sorts of shit in here, some of which is way more broken than, say, others. Let's see. What's a good one? Hold on. Here we are, number 2. So at 3rd level, you can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Until your rage ends, you can use this effect again and fucking again and fucking again, and as each of your turns as a bonus action. This is Misty Hop or Misty Step. Misty Step. This is at 3rd level. You have basically 10 uses of Misty Step, which for a 3rd level character is arguably broken. So the way that we rebuilt this table is that, again, we have a die. We start off with a D6. It becomes a D8. It'll eventually become a D10. So I'll catch up with you guys in a second. So roll your power die, which starts as a D6, becomes a D8, and then eventually becomes a D10. So you can see here we have, instead of 8, we have 10 abilities. And guess what? A 3rd level character can't get access to 7th level or above. What does that mean? That means that we can upscale the type of shit you can do to correspond with the tier of level your character is at. So you can allow them to have higher level powers as they gain levels, so that your character's abilities are curving with the abilities of your team. You're not outscaling your team with random crap. Some might like that, some might not like that. Tough shit. This is how you balance your game, by building your random tables to curve with what your character is capable of doing. So here's your options, and we'll cut and paste all this stuff. Almost all of this stuff is there was a D8 table, right? So there's not a lot of extra stuff that you have to add in here. But yeah, when you begin your rage, you can do this stuff. Until your rage ends, your weapon damage dice becomes force damage. It has a light and thrown property. Here's its range, and whenever you throw it, it reappears in your hand again. 2nd level, flowers and vines temporarily grow around you until your rage ends. 15 feet around you is difficult terrain. Intangible spirits appear next to an enemy of your choice, and it detonates. Saving throw for half. Bolt of light shoots from your chest. It's a targeted attack. It's a burst Constitution saving throw. If it hits and they fail their save, they take damage and they're blinded. You can do this over and over again as a bonus action. That's fair. 5. Whenever a creature hits you with a melee attack, roll before your rage ends. The creature takes 1 power die of force damage. This is basically a free power that you gain access to. Was it radiant strikes and necrotic strikes deal force damage or necrotic damage. Radiant strikes does force or radiant damage. This is just giving you access to force damage. And then number 6, the best thing, the most that you, D6 is your cap at 3rd level, right? So until your rage ends, you're surrounded by multicolored protective lights. You gain a bonus to your armor class equal to 1 plus your max channel rank gained as a barbarian. So if you multi-class out of this after 3rd level, it'll only ever be worth a +2 to you. It'll never get better. As opposed to a proficiency bonus, which is what they grant you in the handbook here. It's very binary in here. Shadowy Tendrils, Shadow of Magic infuses your one weapon. Hits you with an attack roll until your rage ends. Hit with an attack roll before the rage ends. Until your rage ends. Oh, there you go. Until your rage ends, you're surrounded by multicolored protective lights. You gain a +1 bonus to your armor class. And while within 10 feet, your allies gain the same bonus. We changed that to instead be 1 plus your max rank gained as a barbarian. So Wild Surge table is when start, rage, roll, power, die, consult below. Almost there with you guys. I'll catch up in a sec. And then I don't need to add in the rest of the list until you get to 9th level. Then you'll have a D8 and you can add on more stuff. And again, you guys can check this stuff out on your own. Oh, right on, man. I'm glad you like it. Well, I mean, that's just part of the wild. Yeah. That's just how the wild. That's just how the wild magic. That's just how wild surges work. It's just that they don't have any balance into it. So we were able to use the mechanics that we have in here to curve this thing out, so it actually works a little bit more sensibly for your characters. So there we go. Bam. Add all that shit in. All right, so now we get down into the bits. We're gonna go with Gruul. And then we have Wild Magic. All right, so let's go look at here's your Gruul. Here's what the Gruul would normally get. You don't get spells because you're a barbarian, so no spells for you. But cantrips are okay. You can still have cantrips. Firebolt and Produce Flame. You just can't use these while you're raging. And you don't get any of these spells, so instead we created an alternate list. Here it is. So you get your Firebolt and your Produce Flame. And then instead of the spells that they offered you, you get Goading Strike and Veterinary Training. Nice. So let's pick those up. It's a specific subclass. The Path of the Wild Magic from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything created created that option. So it's a subclass feature, kind of like the Eldritch Knight is a fighter, but they get a stack of spells that they can cast, or like the Arcane Trickster is a rogue, but they also get a stack of spells. The Barbarian has, instead of having a stack of spells, which would be clumsy considering how wizards built the Barbarian, instead of that they give them the Path of Wild Magic to avoid having to make them cast spells, because Rage doesn't allow you to cast spells. So instead they give you a random magical effect and fiend it as a random wild magic sort of thing, right? But we're creating an alternate spellcasting system that is not spellcasting. It's just primal power that erupts out of you as magical effects. Hence the wild magic curving together with the color magic system. And you also get a subclass archetype. So let's go down to, we won't get bolstering magic until higher levels, and unstable magic stays the same. Controlled surge stays the same. Let's go to, what am I looking for? Oh yeah, I'm looking for the power list. So here's the different at the different levels that you gain power. Third level is when you take the archetype, so that's right now, and then fifth level is when you gain second. Here you got the subclass progression of a half caster. Fifth level is second rank, ninth is third rank, 13th is fourth rank, and then 17th is fifth rank. That's just half casting progression as per paladin, ranger, and artificer, right? So, but normally the spellcasters typically get a stack of 10 bonus spells to thematically reinforce what type of a character they are narratively with the spells that they get. So we went through a few sessions, like a couple weeks ago, we went through and built out our own list of powers that you automatically get. So at third level, all you get for the barbarian are feats. Feats don't cost any mana. It's a low cost thing that they get access to, but we will look at them. So let's pick these up. There you go. Let's go here. Where do we want to be? Here. Actually, yeah, we want to be here. Let's see. Colors, color guides, colors. Right. So instead of learning, so we get, like at third level, we know we can prepare 4 powers, right? So instead of preparing these mana powers, instead what we can do is we can learn. Where'd it go? Come back, y'all. Beep, beep. Right, so here's all the mana stuff that we can learn. Instead of learning things that require mana, we can learn combat masteries, which are like weapon masteries from the 2024 playtesting stuff. But these are like things that you learn to do regardless of what weapon you use. So like push can be used with a great maul or a heavy crossbow. But if you learn the push mastery, you could push with any weapon, including your bare hands. You just push people as part of the attack. It's basically a bonus cantrip effect. Like Adel, for instance, the shocking grasp cantrip does lightning damage, and the opponent can't make opportunity attacks during their turn. So this is basically applying that shocking effect as a free thing that doesn't modify any. It's part of your attack roll. That you can either use a combat mastery for free, but you can't use it with a strike. A strike, basically, like all the strikes have these combat masteries in them, plus do damage. So it's a rare, there's a few exceptions, but normally you would either use a combat mastery, or if you want to spend mana, use a strike. So you can always use combat masteries for free, but there's better versions of them as strikes up above. Like the push is you make a saving throw and you can push the target 5 feet. But there's the thundering strike. You deal damage and you automatically push them 10 feet without a saving throw. And the amount of distance you can push them is equal to the amount of mana that you burn. So if a 9th level character throws 3 mana into a thundering strike, they'll do an extra 3d8 fire damage, thundering damage, and they could punch that target up to 30. They could push that target up to 30 feet away, kind of like the Eldritch Blast, the repelling blast that the Warlock gets as an invocation. This is effectively that invocation, but you're spending mana on it, so you do extra damage as well. But this is a combat mastery, so it's free. It's like a cantrip, so it doesn't do any extra damage, and it's not as good as the thundering effect. So you want to take the thundering effect if you love pushing people. There's also like a shove and different type of maneuvers that don't require strikes at all. It's just point and push. But you could also take feats. So instead of learning, if you don't want to fuck around with mana at all, at 20th level, you can just pick up 16 extra feats. You can pick up combat masteries and feats if you wanted to. So the stack of feats that you get, here's all the feats. There's more than 16 of them, so go crazy. If you want to become like the feat guy, then you can do that. And the feats that we got for free were Dungeon Delver and Savage Attacker. So let's see what those things do. I don't remember. What's up? Yeah. Fair enough. All right, so let's see. Alert for hidden traps and secret doors found in many dungeons. You gain the following benefits. We have advantage on wisdom perception and intelligence investigation checks made to detect the presence of secret doors. You have advantage on saving throws made to avoid and resist traps. And you have resistance to the damage dealt by traps. And traveling at a fast pace doesn't impose the normal -5 penalty to your passive wisdom perception score. That's a fucking great thing for a barbarian to have in general, because it leans into the danger sense. If not blind, deaf, or incapacitated, you have advantage on dexterity saving throws against the effects that you can see, such as traps and spells. And this just like bumps that up a lot. So good. And then what's the other thing that we got? Savage Attacker. Okay, so once per turn, when you roll damage for a melee weapon attack, you can re-roll the weapon's damage dice and use either total. That's really useful. Cool. Okay, great. Savage Attacker. There you go. So that's all the stuff that we get for free. These are, we always know these things. These are always available to your character no matter what. Let's look at Goading Strike and Veterinary Training, just for references. Goading Strike. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. And at third level, it's a d6. So, and we can spend 1 mana. So we can add d6. And on top of that, the creature you strike has disadvantage on attacks made that don't target you. This effect ends if the target hits you. It can also attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding an intelligence saving throw. So, right on, my guy. See you later. All right, see you on the other side, my man. Thanks for swinging by. And then Veterinary Training is an exploit. So let's go down to our exploits and take a look at what Veterinary Training does. First rank power. When making an ability check that uses the animal handling medicine, that can use the animal handling medicine or survival skill, roll 1 power die per mana channeled. In this case, it'd be a d6, and then you add the highest result. So if I was 9th level, rolling a d8, and I could spend 3 mana to roll 3 8-sided dice, I'd keep the best die result. So there's a risk-reward system there. Once you get around 3 mana, you're most likely going to be rolling over the average. So if you really got, like, if you're 17th level and you absolutely have to make this thing work, then you could throw 5 mana at it and roll 5 10-sided dice and keep the best result, but that may be overkill. That's a risk-reward thing you have to figure out for yourself. But then we have 4 prepared powers, which we can swap all of them at first level. You can swap any number of prepared powers that you know when you finish a long rest, just like a paladin or a cleric, a druid, a wizard can do. But in addition, when you finish a short rest, you can swap one of them. So if you're transitioning from a dungeon into the town, you don't need a reaction to do opportunity attacks anymore, but it'd be great to have an exploit that gives you advantage on some skill checks you expect to be making. You can swap that in and be more useful to your team. So we want to find 4 of them, and then we'll be done for the day. Boy, this has been really efficient. But what's going to be some fun, flavorful stuff for Gruul? We want to go with maneuvers are free if we're willing to sacrifice our attack action and spend a bonus action to trigger it. What's going on over here? There. Nice. Okay, so what's some cool crap we want to add on that's going to feel gruely or wild magic-y? Beguiling Trance. That's kind of a blue magic thing, but let's look at it. When you target a creature, you can also see you, wisdom save, can't attack while it sees you, takes damage, or succeeds a wisdom saving throw. A creature can use an action to shake it off. That doesn't feel particularly Gruul or Wild Surge. Regeneration might not be bad. When you channel this maneuver, you can spend a number of hit dice up to your max rank. At this level, it would be 1 to regain a number of hit points equal to the amount rolled. This basically lets you spend hit dice at will. It'll cost you a point, but you can throw mana. You can spend a point of mana to be able to roll, to use your hit dice to heal yourself. That's not bad. And then a kicker is an additional cost, which you can stack. So you can spend an extra point of mana to end a disease, blindness, deafness. But I'm going to take it. Regeneration sounds actually pretty on point. Regeneration equals spend 1 hit die. Cure disease, blind, deaf, poisoned. Useful. Very, very useful. Let's see. And if I forgo my attack and use a bonus action, I can do that for free during my combat, during a round of combat. So that's actually really useful. Restraining hold. While grappling, you can deal 1... Ooh. Do I want to make a grappling build? You know what? I'm going to make a grappling build for Simic. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to make Simic a grappling build. So we have a maneuver here, which we can make for free. Sustain powers don't block channels. So we want to go fetch a sustain power too, for sure, because that's like one of the really big advantages of playing a barbarian is that when you sustain an effect, it doesn't prevent you from using mana otherwise. So as long as you're willing to spend the points, you don't have to concentrate on it. It's fucking great. So what do we want to pick up? We can only sustain 1 first rank power at a time. So what would be useful? Lycanthropy's not bad. While sustaining this power, you can shift form into a lycanthropic creature. Your appearance changes to adopt features of a creature of your choice, such as fur, scales, beak, claw, fang, tail, etc. You gain heightened senses, which is gain wisdom on perception and investigation checks. Feral Might is gain advantage on strength checks. And then you gain a natural weapon, which deals 1 power die plus your strength or dexterity modifier. Your choice of slashing or piercing damage. You know what? I'm going to save that for our monk. A Simic monk with lycanthropy and all the grappling features makes a shitload of sense here. So we're going to do that. So let's do something different for the what can we pick up that's cool for this wild magic barbarian. While this power is sustained, you gain advantage on intelligence, wisdom, saving throws to notice traps. You automatically understand the general nature of any trap revealed this way, and gain advantage on intelligence and dexterity checks using tools you're proficient with to disarm that trap. That's not very barbarian. It would just be Hulk Smash. Not really applicable. Swift assessment. You can add your proficiency bonus when making an ability check that can use the perception or insight skill. If you already have proficiency with either of these skills, you instead add that bonus twice as though you have expertise in these skills. That's saving grace. When sustaining this power, you have advantage on saving throws with one ability of your choice. You can channel this power more than once simultaneously, choosing a different ability score with each channeling. Oh, let's just do this. Rogue Stance. You can use a bonus action to dash, disengage, or dodge. That's really useful. Let's do that. That is sustain 1. Is there anything else that we would want to pick up? Not worrying about range. Power armor, power shield. Ooh, power shield's not bad. You create a defensive field of power that can be wielded as a shield that you are proficient with. The shield hovers in your space to protect you, leaving your hands free. The bonus of your armor class gained from the shield is equal to 1 plus your max rank of power. You can benefit from only one shield at a time. You can sustain that. It would bump my armor class by 2. That'd be useful. My armor class is currently 13. No, it's... How does that work? Hold on. When you're not wearing any armor, it's 10 plus dex plus con. And you can use a shield. My con and dex aren't awesome. That's only 3. That's only a... Nah, I'm not going to do that. I could pick up a shield. If I picked up a shield, I'd only be able to make attacks with... No. We're playing a bugbear, so we're going to go with reach weapons. Ooh, let's do that. Okay, I have a plan. There you go. Because I'm playing a bugbear, I have a 5-foot reach, sentinel, and pull and Pam. It's the Pam sentinel synergy. That's just, and we just pick those up for free because they're powers. So that's super useful. God, was it that simple? Are we done? Regeneration, rogue stance, sentinel. Let's 1 second. We can put chain on this guy for an armor class of 17. We could add power shield, make it 19. But I think the dodge as a bonus action. There's a lot of bonus action economy going on around here, so maybe rogue stance. We can swap all of these when you gain. Whenever you take a long rest, you can swap all of them out. So we're just building a sample kit of how these things can synergize and work with each other. So it's not actually. I mean, this is hard. This is like the opposite of being written in stone. This is just what's useful right now. So let's just go with power shield then instead of rogue stance. Let's just go with power shield. So with chainmail and our dexterity only being 11, being 12, so we get our +1 there. So we'd have with chainmail, we'd be at an armor class 16, plus the power shield in effect. That would be a +18. If at 4th level, if we decide to bump our dexterity up, that would take us to a armor class of what, 15, 16, then it'd be 17, and at 5th level it'd be a +1, so it would go to a +3 bonus to our shield, so it would go to an armor class of 20. So right now it's an armor class 18. By 5th level, using power shield, our armor class can bump to 20. Not bad. We don't have, because we can pick up feats as powers, we can save our feats at 4th, 8th, etc. To actual ability score increases, so that we actually can increase our ability scores. And since everything's going to be through our strength modifier, we don't have to worry about having, we're already mad as it is with multiple ability score dependent. We can reduce that down to only need to worry about strength, dexterity, and constitution, which is already a lot. But between the bugbear and the feats that we'll gain per levels, we should actually cap out pretty well. I think that's good enough for now. There's a lot of stuff that we could play with otherwise, but I like how this sits. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with this. All right, cool. We're just going to leave that like that. That is our... He's just using that pole arm. This bugbear's got a 15-foot reach. That's pretty fierce. And he can use his... Okay, so goading strike can be used as a reaction. Like when you hit with an opportunity attack, you can goad somebody so that, again, they have to attack you. Otherwise, they're going to be at disadvantage. So you can use goading strike with your Pam and your sentinel, so you'll stop them from moving when you hit them with an opportunity attack for moving inside of your space. And then you can hit with a goading strike so that they're penalized to attack anybody else. So if they try to attack somebody else anyway instead of you, then you can hit them again with Pam and stop their movement. So you're really doing a really good lockdown with this guy. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, well, there we go. We'll go ahead and leave it at that. And when we come back next time, we're going to build an Izzet. I'm going to copy paste all this stuff. Thump. We're going to build Izzet artificer, and we'll figure out what that guy is. We'll figure out what that means when we get there. So yeah, I'm pretty good with this. All right, guys, that was it. I'm going to bounce out of here. If you want to see more of this stuff in the future, I build sample characters like this during my lunch streams, which are typically on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays like this. Monday through Friday in the morning, we do artwork for the Spelljammer supplement that will be publishing probably in the first week or so of February. And in the evenings on Mondays and Thursdays, we do creature token art and map production for the Eberron adventure that we'll be publishing later on this year. So we got a lot of stuff going on all the time. We'll be back to build the campaign toolkit for these characters and whatever characters our players come to the table with as part of our 3rd level to 9th level playtest that we'll be running for the next few months. So we'll be designing that on Saturday. So if any of this stuff is interesting to you, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. We'd love to have you around. And thanks a lot. Hey, thanks a lot for showing up, Jeffrey. I really appreciate you, man. I'll see everybody on the other side. Cheers.